there again, everyone. We are back with the Nursing School Mindset Edit. So I'm so glad that you're here with me today. Put in the chat where you are watching from so I can see who is here. And today we're talking about something that has come up a lot more in the past year or so, and that is how to stay engaged when your class is online. A lot of students struggle with this, and I totally get it. It's definitely more passive for a lot of students, and sometimes students feel like they're teaching themselves or they're just not getting into the class like they normally would with an in-person class. So we'll be talking about staying engaged in that online learning environment. So my best tips for this are the very first thing, and probably the most important one, is some online classes are going to be what's called synchronous or asynchronous. Okay, so you may hear your instructor use that term. You may see it in the syllabus. And what this means is that a synchronous online class is just like this. Like if you're watching me live right now, we are synchronous. Your instructor will be basically doing a live presentation with you. You're watching from home, they're doing it from their house or wherever, but you're there together, okay? If you have the option of watching that synchronously or catching the replay later, my advice would be do whatever you can to work your schedule so that you can at least attend that synchronous live component. Okay, that will give you the opportunity to engage with the instructor and ask questions in real time. And it'll save you so much time. Okay, so that is the very first tip that I would say about online classes. If the opportunity exists to be there live with your instructor, do that. Even though you might be really tempted to watch it later in your pajamas, I promise you'll probably get more out of it if you're there live. Okay, the next thing that we really have to pay close attention to is doing away with distractions. There's so many more distractions when we're working from home, right? So it's first identifying what those distractions are and realizing that they can be all kinds of things. It could be noise distractions, it could be a visual distraction, or even a physical distraction. So by like noise, that's the obvious one, right? If noise pulls you away, somebody talking in the other room, music playing, the TV on, first of all, turn those things off, right? You might need to get something like noise canceling headphones if you are really distracted by noise, or just make a rule that when you're at your desk, TV's off, music's off, phone's off, everything's off. I work in complete silence in my house. So when people come to my house in the middle of the day, sometimes they're surprised that there's nothing playing, not even music. It's completely silent because if I get noise coming at me, I'm going to get distracted. And I know that about myself. So totally quiet over here. I am 100% focused on work. So if that's you, maybe try that. If you're really distracted by noise, again, noise canceling headphones can be really great, especially when you have those intense focus study sessions. Sometimes, or even a white noise machine can work, you guys. So a white noise machine plays like just like a steady, almost like a fan sound, and it kind of drowns out outside noise. I absolutely love sleeping with a white noise machine. It can be really handy for your workspace as well. And then visual distractions. This is one that I didn't even realize was a problem for me until I moved my desk around in my office. I'm remodeling right now, so I'm not in my office, but I moved things around so that my desk, I was at a standing desk and I could really see out the window. And out the window of my office, there's a hill. And I'm telling you, when the turkeys come by in the morning, am I distracted by that? Yes, I get up, I gotta go watch the turkeys. When the squirrels run around outside, I stop what I'm doing and watch them. Like I get distracted. Even someone riding their bike up on the road. Visual distractions are clearly a big problem for me. So when I really have to focus, closing the blinds is absolutely key. So recognizing if you get distracted by people walking by, other visual things. And then there's the physical distractions, okay? So I realized one day I was on a deadline. I had to get something published for you guys. And my cat, you guys know I love Oliver, right? I love him so much. But he is a physical distraction sometimes, like coming over and laying on my keyboard, meowing, wanting attention. Finally, I had to kick him out. Sorry, Oliver, but I did. So he was a physical distraction. Maybe it's your dog bringing you the ball and bouncing it at your feet. And when you start to pay attention to how many times you stop what you're doing to interact with, this other distracting thing, you realize, wow, I'm really not fully engaged, fully focused. So that's one, like people that distract you, pets, whatever. It could also be something like my chair is really uncomfortable and it pulls me out of what I'm doing because I'm uncomfortable sitting in this chair. Or maybe it's too hot in the room or too cold. Like pay attention to those kinds of physical distractors and try to alleviate them and get everything set up before classes start for maximum focus, okay? Highly recommend a standing desk for those that really want to stay super engaged. It keeps you alert and keeps you awake, and then you don't have that uncomfortable chair to deal with as well. Okay, so that would be the second thing, getting rid of distractions, okay? Take that very seriously. And then the third thing is I want you to create a designated study space, okay? And before I get into that, I just want to pop up here what Teresa says. She plays spa music. Okay, I love that. I would fall asleep, but if it works for you, beautiful. And uses essential oils. I will do essential oils sometimes too. Teresa, I do like a lavender peppermint citrus blend, and that's like my focus blend, and I do love it. I do love that. And then Ashley says, the cat. Yeah, I know. I mean, I love him, but he doesn't understand that we're working, right? Okay, so as I was saying, a designated study area. So raise your hand if you sometimes, and no judgment, but if you sometimes watch your online classes from bed or lounging on the sofa. I've done it. I did it a lot in graduate school, and I probably shouldn't have, but there were times when I was really tired. And so I would do that, but it was not best practice, right? So if you're lying in bed watching a lecture, lounging in the recliner watching a lecture, you're sending a signal to your brain that you're not really taking any of this seriously, right? That it's not work time. So I would say set up that designated study space so that you can signal to your brain that it's time to work and it's time to stay engaged and focused. Yeah, Teresa says no bed because you'll fall asleep. Absolutely, absolutely. And it's not like you have to set up, a whole home office, you guys. It does not have to be anything fancy. It can be the end of the dining room table, okay? It does not have to be something fancy. It can be part of a bar top in your kitchen, wherever you can get work done, okay? All right, so that would be the third thing. The fourth thing, before we do that, I do want to pop up what Laura says because I love this. I treat my classes like a job. Absolutely. That is the perfect mindset for classes. And if you can apply that to online classes, you're taking it all very seriously. You're scheduling things, and you're probably getting everything done, right, Laura? I bet you are. Okay, the next one is reducing fatigue. There's something about sitting in front of a computer all day, looking at a screen. Raise your hand if that is a little bit exhausting, like more draining than you would ever think that it would be. So one of the ways to reduce that fatigue is so simple, you guys. A lot of that fatigue is eye strain related, which can cause you to lose focus. It can cause headaches. It causes you to be very tired. So reducing eye strain, it sounds so like simple that you might not even think that it works, but it totally, totally helps. So there's a 20-20-20 rule, if you guys have heard of that. So every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away and do that for 20 seconds. So every 20 minutes, glance at something that's about 20 feet away and do that for 20-second duration. And that gives your eyes a much, much needed break. And then you can get back to work. Okay, super simple. If you're using the Pomodoro method, which I've talked about multiple times, you know, if your work session is 25 minutes, that's fine. I mean, you could do it then, or you could set your work session to 20 minutes. So that is a tip. You could also use blue light blocking glasses. They're super cheap. You can get them on Amazon for like 10 or 15 bucks. And make sure that your screen isn't too close. About 2 feet away is considered optimal. So reducing eye strain, eye fatigue really goes a long way to reducing mental fatigue. And when you have mental fatigue, you have physical fatigue. So let's start with something super, super easy, okay? All right, the next thing is when you're taking an online class or doing an online module, it can be really tempting to just kind of sit back and let it happen to you. And that's not engaged. That's very, very passive, right? So in order to stay engaged, you have to do things that purposefully keep you engaged in that class, in that discussion. So taking notes as you go is a really great way to signal to your brain that you are in this process. You are part of what is happening. And it's not like you have to write word for word what the person is saying, but keywords that will help you remember key concepts, key phrases, and things like that. And I wouldn't say it's just for an online lecture. If I'm watching an online module where I'm some of those online modules will have activities within them. That's very engaging. I may take some notes along with that as well. Be mindful of what you're taking notes on, you guys. Don't write down things you already know just to be writing something down, right? Because you're going to tune out during that process. Make sure that you're really jotting down those. When you feel your brain, that little light bulb go off in your brain, that's a clue that you probably should be writing that information down because that's new or it's a new connection to another underlying concept, right? So big ideas, keywords, key phrases, aha moments, as I like to call them. Taking notes as you go, really, really helpful. And just to go back to a little bit to what we talked about with the eye strain, Shannon, definitely, yeah. So the blue light glasses, headaches are better. That is awesome. I'm glad that those are working for you. Okay, the other thing that you guys can do, this is super simple and really helpful. And it kind of takes away some of the anxiety when you're in a lecture or an online lecture, is write down the questions that you think of as you go. So as you're sitting in a lecture, like let's say your instructor is delivering this as a recorded lecture. And there can be a little bit of, well, what if I don't understand? What if I have questions, right? Jot the questions down as you go. Not only does this keep you really engaged, but you get that question out of your head onto paper, and then you can kind of move on and stay with what's happening in the lecture. If you don't write it down, there's a chance that that question's going to keep circling, right, in your brain, and then you're going to kind of miss the next thing that the individual says. So make a list of questions as you go. This could be, why does this happen? Why does that happen? What about this condition? Etc. You could come up with a million questions as you go. Very highly effective way to stay engaged and make connections between concepts. It doesn't mean you're not getting it. It probably means you're seeking deeper understanding. So if you've got a long list of questions, chances are you are really diving into the material, okay? So make it your goal to have some questions with every lecture that you attend or every online module that you do, okay? And then another one is get up and move, you guys. So I talked a little bit earlier about stand-up desks. That is huge, but I also want you to just like step away for a minute, stretch, move, go for a 10-minute walk a couple of times a day. Something where you can not just be sitting all day. It's very passive and it contributes significantly to fatigue. So if you're using that Pomodoro timer method, you can set your work sessions up however you like with those apps. But like I have mine, I think it's 25 minutes and then it's like a 3 to 5 minute break. It's short. I don't think it's 5 minutes. I think it's like 3 minutes is how I have mine. So I do a 25-minute focus session, a 3-minute break, and that seriously is look away from the computer, get up, move around, stretch, go reheat my coffee for the 500th time, get a glass of water, come back and get back to work. And then I think there's like three or four of those 25-minute sessions. And then there's a longer, like 10-minute break, and definitely getting up and moving during that 10-minute break. Not switching tasks and doing something else where you're still sitting at your desk, but get up, move around. Okay, go change out the laundry or something. Okay. And then the other thing that I would say, speaking of focusing and setting those focus work sprints, is stop multitasking. Now, I'm super guilty of multitasking until I realized I wasn't really multitasking. I was task switching. And switching from task to task to task is really inefficient and exhausting for your brain, and it pulls your attention away from the lecture that you're attending or the class that you're doing, causes way more fatigue overall. So I know it's really tempting to say, I'm going to run this lecture over here while I do research for the other paper, that I'm working on over here. You don't do that. You are not multitasking. I guarantee you your brain is constantly switching back and forth between those two tasks. So set goals for what you're going to achieve with your session, whether it's to watch the lecture, watch half the lecture, and then work on your paper or whatever. With that, you guys, close down your social media stuff, close down your email, your Slack, whatever. Turn your phone on airplane mode, because getting those constant reminders in, it's so tempting to go and see what it is because you're multitasking, but you're not. You're task switching. It's inefficient and it's exhausting. So we're going to work on not doing that. And it's one of the things I work on too. I'm getting a lot better at it. If something comes into your head as you're doing it, as you're doing a lecture or a module or whatever, instead of ignoring it, because it's just going to come back, right? Jot it down. Just jot it down on a little notepad and then stay engaged with what you're doing, okay? Otherwise, just like those questions that come up, it'll circle and circle and distract you more. So jot it down, move on, get back to work, okay? And then the other thing I would say is if your instructor has an office hours time slot, and they should, take advantage of that. It might be a live thing, or it might just be, that they're available via email or phone or what have you from 4 to 6 on Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever it is. So if you have questions about things, rather than reaching out to them outside of office hours, if it can wait until office hours, do so then, so that you have the opportunity for more engagement and a more immediate response. Emailing someone, on a Friday at 5 o'clock probably means you're going to have to wait until at least Monday to get an answer, right? So try to take advantage of office hours when they are available. So I'm just going to recap top to bottom what those were. If lecture is offered live, synchronously online, do that, okay? Minimize your distractions, identify what distracts you, and then minimize those things. Have a designated study area. Reduce fatigue by paying attention to eye strain and follow that 20-20-20 method, and let me know how that goes. Take notes as you go and jot down questions as they come up. Have a goal to have at least 3 to 10 questions for every lecture, okay? Get up and move periodically. Stop multitasking and try to attend office hours whenever you can, okay? All right, let's just see what you guys are saying. Dawn says, you have to sit in the front. Yeah, if you're in an in-person class, sitting in front is a great way to stay super engaged. I was a front row sitter as well, so I'm right there with you. Okay, you guys, so that was our chat for today. Tomorrow we'll be talking about, I had it and then I already forgot it, you guys. Oh, things to review before school starts. So the things that I find to be most beneficial if you want to do a little review before classes start, or even in between semesters, just brushing up on some key things from Physiology will help you really apply them to pathophysiology and nursing interventions and nursing care. And that'll be tomorrow. I think that's at noon Pacific. And if you were with me yesterday when my website was broken, I fixed it. I'm feeling pretty sassy right about now. I fixed it. It was complicated. I had to do things that scared me, but it worked. So, website's back up. There is a webpage, straightanursingstudent.com/mindset edit, and you can see the schedule and what we're talking about and what time. Okay, so I will see you tomorrow and we'll chat soon.